Still in DC now, and Kamala Harris has used her first presidential campaign rally to target the Republican rival Donald Trump as she takes the lead in a new poll out today. Live to Trudy McIntosh. She's at the White House for us. Trudy, what's the latest on President Biden today?
Well, Pete, the lights are on in the White House, and there's somebody home now. President Biden, after 6 days in COVID isolation at his own home in Delaware, made the journey back here to Washington, D.C. He's now holed up inside, preparing for what we believe is going to be this big primetime address here tomorrow night, American time, tomorrow morning back home in Australia. Joe Biden dropped out of this race 48 hours ago after growing pressure from Democrats, and he's now going to outline his path forward here, what lies ahead for him as well during his presidency. He was asked by reporters as he arrived back in Washington how he's feeling, and he said he's doing well. He's now testing negative, according to his doctor, to COVID-19. His replacement, though, is Vice President Kamala Harris in terms of who's going to take on Donald Trump. She's now got enough delegates, the majority, to become the presumptive Democrat nominee. And certainly momentum in terms of the grassroots base is growing behind her. They saw that big fundraising drive, over $100 million in the first 36 hours. She's been back on the campaign trail in the state of Wisconsin, a crucial part of that blue wall for the Democrats. And have a look at this new poll. The Reuters Ipsos poll out today shows her with her nose in front of Donald Trump within the margin of error. She's got a lead here, though, of 44 to 42. Other polling out today, YouGov polling, showing things are more neck and neck, but still a competitive race with Kamala Harris now at the top of the ticket. Her campaign touting the fact that today's event in Milwaukee had the biggest crowd size they've seen in this campaign cycle for a Democrat, beating anything Joe Biden ever received. She's also been sharpening her attack lines against Mr. Trump.
Before I was elected vice president, before I was elected United States Senator, I was elected Attorney General of the state of California, and I was a courtroom prosecutor before then. And in those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
The Trump campaign believe what we're seeing for Kamala Harris in the polls is essentially a Harris honeymoon, and that they're going to continue to ramp up the attacks on her. A Trump campaign memo out today calling her Joe Biden's co-pilot, and they're going to try and tie her to some of the weaknesses perceived in Mr. Biden's presidency. But as for Democratic leaders, we've seen that big endorsement today from the two top Democrats on the Hill, that being Hakeem Jeffries, the House leader, and Chuck Schumer from the Senate.
I have seen a surge of enthusiasm from every corner of our party uniting behind Vice President Harris, an enthusiasm felt in every corner of the country.
I've seen her on the most critical foreign policy questions of our time in the Situation Room at the White House and the Oval Office with the President, and my observation is she's very strong.
Kamala Harris and her candidacy has excited and energized the House Democratic Caucus, the Democratic Party, and the nation.
It was that first presidential debate between Biden and Trump that was ultimately the death knell for Joe Biden. Now we've heard from Donald Trump today. He's saying he's happy to debate Kamala Harris not once but twice going forward, as we have just over 100 days to go in this campaign, Pete. As for Joe Biden, it's business as usual in terms of his work of being president. Later this week on Thursday, he's going to meet with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who's in town, and then BB's going to go down to Mar-a-Lago to meet with former President Donald Trump.
OK, so the big week in DC continues, and Trudy McIntosh is right there for us. Thank you, Trudy.